Hello, smart trader. Today I want to talk about how to mark your supply and your demand zone effectively on your chart. This concept, a lot of traders have learned it, especially creators have made it popular on the internet and everywhere. Everybody is talking about demand and supply, but a lot of traders still find it difficult to mark this thing on their chart and equally use it effectively. So what is demand and what is supply zone? Supply zone, you can think of it like the support and resistance that we all knew when we all started trading, you understand. But along the way, trader discovered that the zone makes it easier for you to capture a good setup as a trader, you understand. We discovered that the zone plays better, you understand. Instead of using support and resistance randomly, trader now find a refined approach to trade the market, you understand. And I'm going to show you how you can mark this demand zone on your chart. So look at it as a place, if you are talking about demand, look at it as a place where the market will likely um bounce from. That is, there's a demand. Wherever there's a demand, price of that particular commodity tends to move up. And wherever there's a supply, a normal supply, price tend to move sharply from that place towards the downside. So this is how this thing is. So if you want to mark your demand zone or your supply zone, there's two ways, you understand, and I will show you the ways I can do it on my board here. So this is number one. Here you can use your order block. In this approach, you can use your order block. Before a demand zone or supply zone become valid, it must have a fair value gap, and you can look at it here. This is the fair value gap. I will do another video to explain what is fair value gap effectively. So it must have a fair value gap, and it must equally mm, have a break of structure. The demand should give rise to a break of structure, you understand. So this validates this type of demand. So whenever price return to this demand again, it will likely push up from this demand level, you understand. So you can see that clearly this demand meet all the standard. And why is the order block? This is the order block right here. Some people like to take the last bearish candle, you understand. Others likes to use the first bullish candle that gave rise to the push towards the upside, you understand. It is all the same thing. If you don't want to confuse yourself, you can mark the two together, you understand. But over the years, I discovered that marking the first candle gives me the precise entry, you understand. So you can use the precise entry, you can use the first candle, you understand, to enter the market. So, and again, you discover that whenever you want to trade your demand zone, make sure once price tap into it, you want to see a liquidity sweep first. You don't just buy because price has touched into a demand zone, you understand. You want to see a liquidity sweep before price touches this demand zone. So, and you can use this signal candle right here. This is the signal candle, you understand, signal candle. You can use this signal candle to make your bias even stronger, you understand. The moment you find after a liquidity sweep and you have your signal candle present at that point, you can now go for a buy towards the upside, right? So this is how to do this thing in a mechanical and a logical approach, you understand. So let me show you how you can draw your supply zone. You remember, supply is just the total opposite of the demand zone, but they are all the same concept. They follow the same rule. You understand? Just like the demand that I just showed you, you can see that the supply should equally have what we call, let me get my pen. The supply should equally have what we call the order block, you understand. In this case, we are marking the last bearish candle that gave rise to the push towards the downside. And equally, it should have the fair value gap. Look at the fair value gap right here. So it should have the fair value gap. So once all these things comes together, it becomes your confluences. You are not just doing it randomly anymore, because all these things coupled together give you a different confirmation. And when you have different confirmation, it now becomes your confluences. It's just like where two river meet. Where two river meet is refers to as confluence point, you understand. And this confluence point, when you have a confirmation in trading, through confirmation, it becomes your confluences. And a lot of traders prefer to have a confluence before they jump into the market or do anything, right? So number one, you have your fair value gap. You have your other block, you understand, which is the last candle, the last bearish candle or the last bullish candle. Anyone that works fine for you can use it. So it's just a zone. At the end of the day, you are waiting for price confirmation at the zone. A zone is not automatic decision making, you understand. It is not elastic for you to go into the market immediately. It is a zone, so you have to wait for whatever happen within the zone to take your next decision, and that is when the signal candle comes in. I will talk more about the signal candle effectively on my next video, you understand, so that you guys will have a better grasp of how to use this signal candle effectively on your chart, you understand. So once after the liquidity sweep here, you understand, wait for the signal candle to form around this zone again. Once the signal candle form, you can now go for your sell aggressively with that mercy and ride it towards the downside. So this is the number one method of forming or marking your demand or supply zone. Let me show you another method now. So this is another method right here, and I will go to my chart and show you. These things are not how will I call it? They are not fictional. They are real. You can see it on the chart. Let me show you. So another method, you can use your rejection block. You understand? They call it rejection block. You can use your rejection as your demand zone, as your order block. Sometimes you may not have a refined order block for you to trade off from. You understand? But sometimes the market will leave a big rejection for you, and you can equally use this rejection to your advantage, right? You can use this rejection, mark the whole of the rejection. The moment the price return to this rejection block again, it will now become a valid order block for you to trade off from. You understand? And remember, whenever you tap into the order block, you want to see a liquidity sweep happening first. You understand? Let me get it. Let me get it. You want to see a liquidity sweep happening before it taps into this level. So you have a liquidity sweep right here. You understand? So this your liquidity sweep, tap into the zone, then you go for your sell. You understand? Go for your sell aggressively. So this is how to market. Let me go to your chart. Some of you will be like, oh, you are saying this thing, we cannot see it on the chart. Can you show us? Don't worry, I have you covered. So this is the chart right here, right? And again, there's something that I forgot to let you guys know. Before you go for any demand level, mark anything on your chart, please study the order flow. Is the market giving you a higher high, higher low formation, or is it giving you a lower low, in this case lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high? Before you even think of marking your demand and supply zone, you have to understand the order flow. Once you have the order flow, once you have the order flow at the tip of your hand, then you cannot go and find your supply or your demand level. You understand? So in this case, this is our supply level. Because why are we finding supply in this scenario? Because the order flow is towards the downside. Sorry, the order flow is moving towards the downside. You understand? Look at it aggressively towards the downside. That is why we are looking for our supply zone at this level. Let me show you now. After this, before now, the market have been trending towards the upside, and we have our change of character right here. Look at the change of character. This previous higher low, the market take it out. You understand? And it becomes our change of character. So the moment we have our change of character, the market left this massive order block right here. Look at this order block. So this is another block, and it is our qualified or a valid supply zone because it have a fair value gap. This is the fair value gap right here. Look at this place. All these places are the fair value gap. So the moment price return to this level again, look, we have to go for the sell. You understand? Although it is not a rapid move for the sell, but you can still capture a nice opportunity there. You understand? Look at it. If you want to sell from this level, you can sell using this powerful 4-hour candle, and you can capture a nice 1 to 5, or let me say 1 to 3, or yes. You understand? 1 to 3. You understand? Sell from this level towards the downside. You understand? So let me show you another one. This is another example. Look at another beautiful order block right here. Look at this, the last bearish candle that formed. So this is the last bullish candle, and this is our fair value gap right here. Look at the gap between the first candle, or which is the order block, and the third candle. You understand? It gives you the fair value gap. And the moment price return to it, remember I told you that for it to be valid, you want to see a liquidity sweep. And this is the liquidity sweep, internal liquidity sweep right here. You understand? Look at it. Look at it. The market take out this liquidity before. Some people start selling from here, but no, the market take it up before it tap into the zone properly. You understand? The moment you tap into the zone, you can now aim for yourself, put your stop loss a little bit above the order block. You understand? And start selling. You understand? So this is it. You can capture a nice 1 to 6. You understand? If you don't want to be greedy, you can target your normal 1 to 2, or 1 to 3, and you make a nice 58 pip from this trade. You understand? So this thing works, guys. It works. So I will show you. Let me show you a supply zone scenario. This is the supply zone. And again, there's something I want to talk about. Sometimes you can use your fair value gap as your dynamic supply zone. I will talk about it in our next meeting again. Look at this beautiful demand level. You understand? This is a nice demand level here. You understand? So there's a liquidity sweep before. There's a liquidity sweep before the market tap into this demand level, or this other block right here. Understand? And after that, what you see, the market obviously starts pushing towards the upside from this level. Another place is look at the example that I just showed you. Look, if you remember, I told you that it is not only refined order block that you can use rejection block. You understand? Look at this example right here now. This is the rejection block. Look at it. Price gave us this rejection block, and whenever price tap into it again, boom, after liquidity sweep, take out this liquidity, it start pushing towards the upside aggressively. And look at another example. Of course, I will discuss this thing much bigger in my next video. You can equally use your fair value gap. Look at this massive fair value gap here. The moment price tap into this fair value gap with the liquidity sweep here, look at the liquidity sweep here. You understand? The moment the market gives you this liquidity sweep, you understand? This liquidity sweep right here, it starts pushing towards the upside. And remember, it is using this dynamics demand level, which is the fair value gap. So you can equally use fair value gap as your supply and demand level, but in this case it is referred to as dynamic. You understand? So I'll talk about this concept much bigger, using fair value gap as your supply zone. So if you want to learn more from us, you can join us. We rub mind together to help ourselves as a community to learn and help ourselves upgrade. And I believe you want to join us and learn more. Thank you. Peace out for now. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.